guys. Well, hello, everybody. So tonight, I'm Diane Covington, and I'm super excited. I was listening to a podcast this morning, and the subject line was all about just focusing on what you can control and letting everything else go. And this woman talked about all the predicaments in her life that she had been in, and how often, when she was put in a tough spot financially, emotionally, she rose to the occasion, and she realized that she really had grit in like her late 20s. She said, it dawned on me that so many of my friends would crumble, and I just figured out a way to make things happen. And I started thinking about that. Then I listened again to Dawn Otten Sweeney, who's our speaker tonight, who you'll get to hear in just a little bit. And I was, it was almost not comical, but it was almost ironic on how the impact that that she had when she was talking about building her business, and how she did the same thing. She got into a situation where she really she put herself in a situation where she had to rise to the occasion and make Mary Kay work. So we're going to do a really fun exercise tonight. I want everybody to grab a piece of paper, and you're going to put a line down the center of the paper. Now, this is a really great exercise to do if you've got kids, if you know anybody who struggles with anxiety, if you ever think the thought, I'm overwhelmed. Just the word overwhelmed means that you're at the edge of a cliff, and you're just like you just want to sit down on the edge of the cliff and just either melt or cry or whatever. It's just like you don't literally know which way to turn. Kelly, if you don't mind kind of keeping an eye on people and letting them in as we go, that would be great. I appreciate it. So I want you guys to take a piece of paper, draw a line down the center. Now, on the top of the left side, you're going to write, I can control. Okay. And on the right column, you're going to write, I can't control. Okay, so we're going to start with the I can't control column, because for some reason it's a lot easier for us to figure out all the stuff that we can't control. So feel free to type in the chat if you are not watching this, if you're not participating live. If you're participating live, type in the chat. If you're not, that's okay, write stuff down. So let's talk about what are the things we can't control. Well, there's some obvious things like the weather. I mean, literally write these down. The weather, traffic, and I know you do have control over what road you go down, but you really don't have control over traffic in general. But let's talk about more Mary Kay's spin, and that might be things like how many, you can't control who answers your calls, right? You can't control who calls you back. You can't control who says yes. So jot these down. You can't control who calls you back, who answers their phone or answers a text. You can't control if she says yes. You can't control who books a party with you. I mean, you can song and dance and offer her the moon and hostess credit, but you really don't have any control over who says yes and who doesn't. You can't control if the appointment ever holds. It might hold, it might not. So you can't control that. You can't control if they decide to buy. You can do specials, sorry, I have hiccups. You can do specials, you can do special deals, but the bottom line is you have no control over if they purchase. Now, here, with that said, I'm going to give you some ideas of how to have influence on these things. But these are three things that if you literally weigh control, not control, these are the ones you cannot control. You cannot control if they answer your call or your text. You can't control if they are supportive, if they are kind, if they are nice, or if they are positive. You might even have family members that don't even fall into those categories. You can't control if somebody's, says something mean or whatever. You can also choose not to listen to it. And I get that. The other thing you can't control is, we talked about the weather, the traffic, the situation in our country, whatever, right? You also can't control other people's attitudes. You are always, always, always going to have some naysayer in your life say something to you like, you're not going to be good at this. You can't really do this, whatever. And what I'm going to tell you is, for every person out there who's saying it can't be done, there's somebody out there doing it. And so, you are going to hear in our Boss Babe series, if you have any idea what Boss Babe series is, today is like week 5 or week 6, I can't remember. But it's, so much of what we're at a fork in the road every day of our life, every minute, every hour. You are at that point where you're like, wow, I've got 20 minutes left before I have to pick up the kids. Should I unload the dishwasher or should I get on the phone? That's a choice. You have control over that, right? So let's talk about, can you guys think of anything else that you can't control, cannot control? I'm able to pack it out to a gal, and they had a family crisis. And so the very next day, she ripped open the package. All five of her family members used all the samples with no instructions, no nothing. And so now when I called them to follow up, to reschedule the next day, they said, oh, we ended up ripping them open at 10 o'clock last night. I had no control over that. I had no control over the order of application because they didn't wait for me to explain it. I have no control over whether they purchase now. I mean, like it's literally out of my hands. So we can focus on what we can't control. And when we focus on what we can't control, what does that create? Stress. It makes you anxious, might make you mad or frustrated, right? All of those things. It might make you feel frustrated. It might make you feel discouraged. Because here's what I do know. I can make 30 calls and nobody might call me back. Is that frustrating? Sometimes, but I have to realize I can't control that. So let's put a positive spin on it. And feel free to type in the chat. If you can come up with things that you cannot control, put them in there. But let's talk about for a minute what we can control, because this is where you can feel empowered. Have any of you ever had a day where it's like, I'd love to feel empowered, right? So let's talk about what you can control. First of all, you can control your attitude. Every morning that God gives you a day and you wake up, be grateful. Because we don't know, even if you're young, we all have a date that's already pre-picked. I don't know what your faith level is or whatever, but I will tell you, you can't you can control your attitude. And so when I lost my sister 14 years ago to breast cancer, I'll take a bad hair day any day. It's better than having no hair, right? I went through that with her. And every day that I wake up, even if I'm exhausted and I didn't sleep very well, I'm like, oh, I got another day. And I'm grateful. I try always to be grateful when I wake up. So you can control your attitude. What else can you control? You can control whether you exercise. Now, I'm not saying you have a lot of time. I didn't say that. I'm just saying you get to choose whether exercise is a priority, right? You get to choose what you eat as a priority. Now, maybe your meals are all prepared for you by somebody else. Maybe you've got a personal chef at your house, which is fabulous. So maybe you can't always, but you could input what's on the menu. You could say, I really don't like eating red meat, or I don't like eating liver, or I don't like eating fish, or whatever. So you can control what you do eat most of the time. You can control how many phone calls you make. You can control how many guests you invite for tomorrow night. You can control who you share the opportunity with. Now, what you can't control is whether or not she's interested. You can't even really control whether or not she'll even meet with you to hear about the opportunity, right? But you're looking for the things that you can control and finding that little middle ground where you can influence. And we're going to talk about that at the end. You can also, so I'm hoping you're writing these down. These are things you can control. Type in the chat if you can think of more. So you can control how many calls you make, how many text messages you send out. Guess what else you can control? The tone of your voice. You can sound excited, or you can sound, are you kidding me? Angry. You have control over that. Now, if you're feeling in a angry, frustrated mood, that is not the time to make a phone call. That is a time to probably go laugh at me if you want, but do about 20 jumping jacks, get you out of breath. Well, gets me out of breath. Some of you are in much better shape than I am. Do 20 jumping jacks and calm down, and then think, what is it that I want to convey in this phone call? And then get on the phone. So you do have control over the tone of your voice. How about your intentions? You have control over your intentions. Absolutely. You have control over if you schedule quiet time, if you schedule time to either pray or have that time to get centered. Okay. You can control who you call, right? You can't control if she's going to answer, but you can control who you call. You can control, I already told you how many phone calls you make. You can control what you say, tone of your voice, all of that, right? You can control your mindset and your attitude. You ever had one of those days where like 3 or 4 things go wrong early in the day and you're like, seriously, it's not even 9 o'clock and all of this has happened? That's the day to just take a second and reset yourself, reset your brain, right? All right. What else can you control? You can control whether you even set a goal, right? Some people are working on goals for a career conference. Some of you haven't even decided if you're registering yet. Some of you, even if you've registered, are maybe you aren't even working on a goal. Maybe your Mary Kay business is more of like fly by the seat of your pants. Like, well, if I sell something, great. If I don't, no big deal. And that's totally, because remember, it is your business. What else can control? You can control how many parties or faces are currently on your date book. Now you might say, but Diane, I can't control that. Yes, you can. Now I didn't say how many phone calls it's going to take for you to get those bookings. Sometimes you go on a roll and you'll call 5 people and book 4 parties. Sometimes you'll call 20 people and book 4 parties. You don't have control over the outcome, but you do have control over not giving up, not stopping until you get that last win. So you do have control over how many parties or faces are on your books. You also have control over your personal priorities, whether that be faith time, exercise time. So for me personally, if I don't go from my pajamas to my workout clothes, I'm not going to work out. I already know that. If I get dressed in my street clothes and put my makeup on, I am not the kind of woman, I don't know why, but I won't at 3 o'clock in the afternoon go put my workout clothes and go to the gym. I won't. But in the morning, I get up and I literally go from my pajamas to my workout clothes, my yoga pants, my shoes, depending if I'm running or walking, or I'm not running yet, but biking or whatever. And I will work out first thing in the morning before I have breakfast, before I do anything. Because if I don't make it a priority, it's not going to happen. And it's important to me. Okay. So you do have control over that. You have control over what you feed your mind. So every day, my complete workout takes, between the stretches I do, my hip thing and all that stuff, probably 45 minutes. During those 45 minutes, I usually listen to 1 or 2 podcasts, always positive stuff. Joel Osteen, Tony Robbins, Mel Robbins, no relation. Anything that is out of the box. Simon Sinek, he's a great leadership coach. I'm constantly, every day, feeding my mind. Could I watch the news? Yes. Do I want to watch the news? No. It's just a recap of everything bad that happened yesterday. Like, I don't want to know. It's not that I want to put my head in the sand. It doesn't lift me up and make me feel better about life. Okay. The last thing I want to share with you is you do have control over who you spend time with. Now, I'll never forget this. At the podium at seminar, Mary Kay was talking about you become like the 5 people you spend the most time with. Okay. And I'll never forget this. Mary Kay herself was at the podium and she always had her little glasses and she slid her glasses down and she said, so let's talk about the 5 people you spend the most time with. If they make you feel better about yourself, put a plus next to their name. Like when you're with them and you leave, you've got more energy than you came with. If you're with them and you feel neutral, you don't feel any better, but you don't feel any worse, just put a little circle 0 next to their name. But if you're with somebody and after you are with them, you feel drained, you feel exhausted, you're tired, put a minus next to their name. And Mary Kay said, and I would suggest you remove them from your life. And then she stopped and went like this. And she said, and if that's someone you're married to, well, that's your decision. And she just put her glasses back up and end of subject. And some people kind of giggled, but it was like, okay, so if the people that you're literally surrounding yourself are negative, it's really, really hard to stay positive. And that's why Mary Kay used to always say, you can do Mary Kay with a man, you can do Mary Kay without a man, but very rarely can you do Mary Kay against a man. Meaning if he's going to belittle you or put you down and be completely unsupportive, I'm not going to say it can't be done. It's just harder. So again, let's focus on what you can control. So when I made this list, I have all these things that I can control. And then I started with this can't control, then I couldn't think of more, but I could think of so many things I can control. And what happens typically is we're like, oh my gosh, I've got this party tomorrow. I don't know if anyone's going to buy, and I'm really working on my goal. And it's like, okay, let's slow down. Let's talk about influence. And I want to close with this. What can I do to influence some of these things? So the things I can't control, let's take some of these. I can't control who calls me back. Okay, am I leaving an upbeat message? Am I sounding positive, not rushed? Am I listening to their needs? Am I getting them so excited that they're chasing me, since I don't chase people, people chase me? Do I have control over if they say yes? No. But if I do a skincare class, a great skincare class, and I give them a closing sheet and I run some specials and I give them good customer service, it does lean more favorably in my way. If they're going to buy, I still have no control over. But do you guys see that? You might even take your product with you if you want to close the sale better. Do I have any control who books with me? No, but I have control over what I offer them to book a party. You want to make it exciting. right? If you say, "Will you just book a party for me?" You don't have to use the word desperate, but your voice will convey, "Please book a party," because no one's saying yes. Will you please book a party? She's either going to feel sorry for you and say yes just to get you off the phone, or she might actually want to book a party with you. I don't know. But when you want to try to influence some of these things that you cannot control, right? You can't control if the appointment holds. That is true, but you can control, do you coach the hostess? You can control, did you get her guest list? You can control, did you text everyone on her guest list to pre-profile them? And I don't pre-profile through a text. I say, April, thank you. I'm so excited you're coming to Kelly's party and that you've got sensitive skin. I have a couple quick questions to ask you. Can I give you a quick call? And 99% of the time they'll say, yeah, sure. Or no, call me at 4:30 when I get off work or whatever. And when I get her on the phone, I'm going to have a 2 to 3 minute phone conversation with her. It's not gone with the wind. It's not 10 minutes. It's quick and it's short. But when I get April on the phone, I'm going to say, April, I'm curious. If you could change one thing about your skin, what would you want to change? And she's going to say, brown spots from the sun. I don't know, whatever. And I'm going to write that down. I'm going to say, okay, so tell me what your nighttime routine looks like. Well, I use bar soap in the shower. Okay. So the more questions I ask, let me rephrase that. What's the most important topic everyone wants to talk about? Themselves. So if I, in 3 minutes, ask April questions about her skincare routine, what would she like to change about her skin? What is the one sample she'd like me to slide in her goodie bag that no one else is going to get? And I'd say, well, April, do you have any questions for me? She goes, no. I said, well, I can't wait to meet you at Kelly's. Come in your PJs, whatever. We're going to have a blast. I can't wait to see you. And would it be okay with you if I sent you a digital catalog just so you could have something to flip through? She goes, absolutely. I said, okay, great. And I'm going to slide in that microderm sample just for you. Don't tell anyone else because they're not getting that. Guarantee you she's going to show up. Now, do I have control over whether she shows up? No. But just by pre-profiling it and making it personal, are the odds not better that she will show up? Yes. And so that's what I was going to say. So look at this list. I can't control if they purchase, but when you develop a relationship and give good customer service, that helps. I can't control if they answer my call or a text, but I can raise my odds if you end a text with a question. You are 63% more likely to get them to respond. So instead of it saying, do you remember me? And then saying, we met at Target last week and I was the one who handed you the charcoal mask sample and I hope you're having a great day. She'll go, okay. And instead you can say, hey, this is Diane with Mary Kay. We met at Target last week. Do you remember me? And I'll send a picture. If I end with, do you remember me? I'm so much more likely to get a response. So when I'm inviting models for this upcoming model in-person makeover event, I'm saying, hey, what are you doing next Monday? We've got this really fun thing. And then I end it with, would you like more details? Because I'm not giving them a detail of where it starts, where it is, or anything. I say, would you like more details? I end with a question because all I want them to do is hit reply, yes. Okay, but that's another thing I can't control. I can't control if somebody is supportive, nice, kind, or positive, but I can control how much time I spend with that person. Right? We totally do that. The weather, the traffic, all of that, you can't control, let it go. Okay. And other people's attitudes, what I do know is that if God gives me another day, you just like positive pixie dust, you can sprinkle it on everyone around you. And when you walk into a store, are you saying to the checker, are you having a great day? Or how are you today? And they say, great. They say, good. How are you? And I say, I'm fabulous. Thanks for asking. And they kind of look at you like, what? So I will tell you guys, the control, can't control is really helpful. If you've got a child or especially a teenager in your life or a spouse or whatever, go over, let them come up with their own list. And I'll tell you what, they're really good at figuring out all the things they can't control. And they assume that there's nothing they can control. So brainstorm with that person. Could be your daughter, your son, could be your spouse, whatever. But let them create their own list. And you can say, well, what else? And if they literally get stuck, and I'm saying stuck like it's quiet for 2 minutes. Now, 2 minutes doesn't sound like very long, but 2 minutes when you're sitting there with a pen and paper will feel like eternity. So sit there at the kitchen table for 2 minutes with them and see if they go, I don't know, I can't think of one. And you might go, well, you can't control whether whether this happens at work or whatever the case may be. So remember, the can't control list is powerful, but realize some of these things that you can't control, you do have the ability to impact. Okay, well, I hope you guys will continue to resource this and come back and listen to this again and again because we all have days where the word overwhelm creeps in. And I'm going to tell you, when you're feeling like there's so much going on, or you feel out of control, like no one's responding to me, blah, 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 stop what you're doing. Because when you are in that mindset, getting on the phone is the least productive thing you can do. When you're in that, and I'm just going to be blunt, when you're in that wham, wham, wham mentality, we all get there sometimes. When you're feeling like that, that is not the time to get on the phone. That is a time, and I'm going to tell you something, music will change your mood faster than anything. Put on a song that makes you feel like Superwoman, invincible, powerful, could be Katy Perry, Roar, whatever your song is, okay? Listen to that for at least a full minute. Think about it and then get back on the phone. But if you're having a wham moment, a I can't control anything moment, take a break, walk away, take a break, and then come back. All right, you guys, I hope this helped you and I hope you have a fabulous day.